Thank you for downloading this in-ear entertainment podcast. You're listening to Shakespeare's Sonnets. Sonnet 45. The other two, slight air and purging fire, are both with thee, wherever I abide. The first my thought, the other my desire, these present absent with swift motion slide. For when these quicker elements are gone, in tender embassy of love to thee, my life, being made of four, with two alone, sinks down to death, oppress'd with melancholy. Until life's composition be recured by these swift messengers returned from thee, who even but now come back again, assured of thy fair health, recounting it to me. This told, I joy, but then no longer glad, I send them back again, and straight grow sad. That was Sonnet 45 of Shakespeare's Sonnets. I'm being extra perky today. My name is Mark Chatterley, and I am joined by the lurgy-infested...
Thierry Heles. That's nice, Mark.
Thank you. I thought it was good. I have to say, at the moment, my brother's getting married in... 2-3 weeks time, and I'm still desperately trying to find a reading to do at his wedding, which I've been asked to do. And I found this amazing poem last night that I want to read, but I've been vetoed by my other half, which has wonderful lines in it, such as, if we were the last two survivors of a zombie apocalypse and you got bitten, I wouldn't even fight you off, I would let you bite me, because I'd rather live undead forever with you than live alone on my own.
Wow.
Which was really good. It's all got geeky references all the way through, but I was told I wasn't allowed to read it. So
I don't know your brother, but if they are a geeky couple, a good poem to read.
It would. They're not, unfortunately. I'm definitely the geeky one of the family. The rest of my family are a bit straight-laced. A bit, that traditional British lower middle class kind of family, if that makes any sense to people.
Yeah,
like that.
It might not make to international listeners, but
it's that kind of. I suppose the attitude is we're doing okay, and therefore we're going to keep to ourselves to avoid that kind of interaction with others, which is a perfectly valid way of going through life. I just am a bit of the black sheep because I do things like this, and I kind of put myself out there and want to talk to as many people as possible. But yes, so yeah, lurgy infested Thierry is today, bless him. So he might not talk much, which would be unusual. What do you? I'm gonna pass you. What do you think of this sonnet? It very much follows on from the previous one, I think.
Yeah, so we said that in the previous episode. This is basically the next two elements after what are the other two? Earth and
air.
No, we have air and fire in this one.
Oh, then water. Sorry,
earth and water. Which apparently, from the couple of bits that I have, means thought and desire. They correlate to that.
See, I didn't realise they had links into sort of emotions that way. I always knew that they were very, very important, earth, wind, air and fire. And when they combine with heart, they bring about Captain Planet! If anyone was born roughly the same time as me. But yeah, I understand that they were... And then there was the belief, the very, very old belief, that all things in the world are made up of various combinations of those four elements.
I'm pretty sure during Shakespeare's time that might have still been the case.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure when we discovered that there's over 100 elements.
Yeah, I would have hoped we'd advanced more than that at Shakespeare's time, but I suppose there's probably a much greater difference between what the scientific community in Shakespeare's time would have believed and known and what the common person would have known, because there would be no broadcast mechanism, I guess.
Well, they had the printing press, but still fairly... Oh no, we had the first periodic table in 1869, so that's still over 250 years away.
Yeah, blimey. Okay, well, yeah, maybe they were ignorant people. Bless them. And yeah, I suppose you can kind of see how you'd come to that conclusion. You burn a piece of wood, it lets off smoke and fire. It kind of makes sense. But it's a bit weird. But I didn't realise they had such strong links to emotions. and this, so the last one we had, earth and water were confining him in the last sonnet. Oh, this is easier for our listeners, isn't it? It's been a week since we did the last sonnet, so it's all a bit weird in our head, whereas for you it's only been like 4 days. That's not fair. So earth and water were confining him and weren't allowing him to travel huge distances to the young love. So in this one, he seems to be using fire and air as kind of like messengers. Is that a fair thing to say?
I would say that's a fair thing to say.
And it brings in my head, is it Odin, head of the Norse gods? He had 2 ravens. Did he have 2 ravens or 2 eagles who he would send out to survey the land every day?
Wow, my knowledge of Norse mythology is pretty much ruined by Marvel. that's how that worked. I used to be quite good with it, but
Marvel came along and destroyed it with their kapows and whacks. I think he had 2 ravens which he would send out, or maybe it was jackals. Oh, I can't remember. But the 2 things would go out and survey the land every day and report back to him about things that had happened and things that were going to happen. So he was always in the know. And it just kind of, in my head, I made that link. The idea that Shakespeare was using air and fire to go and find out information. We're punctuated by coughs.
I apologise.
That's fine. I can't fault you for being ill. My eyes are going slightly yellow today, so I can't complain about people being ill. I have cool yellow eyes sometimes, listeners. It's quite funky. It's like a superpower, like Cyclops, except for a bit pants, and I don't blast anyone.
That's probably a good thing.
Yeah, that is. All I do is scare the people who serve me in shops, and they kind of look into my eyes and go, and they get this really shocked look on their face, and then they rush off.
I'm sure they've seen. Yeah, it could be infectious.
Yeah, the yellow eyes, they are infectious. But the end of this sonnet, he does in fact say they're messengers. By those swift messengers returned from thee, who even but now come back, assured of thy fair health, recounted it to me. This told I joy. So I like the idea that they come back and he's happy because the fair youth is healthy. So we've moved past Shakespeare being angry at the fair youth, it appears, at this point. But then no longer glad I send them back again. So I imagine he's no longer glad because he realises the youth is healthy, but he's not there. And he sends them out again, and straight grow sad. So he's always alone. Even his messengers leave him because they're constantly away trying to find out information.
Well, that's what he does with the elements in this one as well. It's the separation. He says, the other 2, slight air and purging fire, are both with thee. And then he goes on a bit further down. My life being made of 4, with 2 alone, sinks down to death, oppressed with melancholy.
Yeah, so he's always alone.
Yeah, he only has 2 of the elements with him.
And they're the 2 that would have been referred to before, the earth and the water, which are essentially imprisoning him. Earth and water are the 2 things that are stopping him be where he can be. Because I guess they're the physical elements, I guess. They're the ones that actually, in a human sense, bind you to a place. Because you have to walk over the earth a long distance and you can't cross huge swaths of water. Whereas fire and air, they're ethereal. They can move quickly and gust about. So yeah, the fair youth, he's using his two elements to snoop on the fair youth. Kind of stalkery.
I'm pretty sure we've established by now that this is a fairly creepy relationship that's going on.
It's good to revisit that every time, because these are supposedly some of the greatest examples of love poetry ever written in the English language, and all we can see over and over again is creepiness in them.
That's true love, isn't it? You're creepy. You're just following the other person. You always know where they are, and if you can't go yourself, you send other people to look for them.
Is it worth telling people what day we're recording this on?
We could by this Valentine's Day today. We are recording this on the 14th of February.
So we take our podcasting seriously, and we try and build up a big buffer so that if any one of us does get ill and can't do the podcast, there's buffers, so you don't miss an episode. But it does mean that you probably being released today is about Sonnet 32, and we're recording Sonnet 45 on Valentine's Day, which is
end of March.
Yes.
Around my birthday. Happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday to you, to future Thierry. We should work that out. We should work out which sonnet is your birthday sonnet.
Oh, that's gonna be. I'm not even. What day is? It might even be a Tuesday or a Thursday. I don't even. Yeah, it's gonna be a Thursday.
That's awesome. We will work out your birthday sonnet.
It might have already passed.
If it hasn't, we will eat cake on air. I think we should do that. That would be awesome. This sonnet is. I quite like this sonnet. It's not a nice one to read. In fact, this batch of 4 that are coming up aren't nice ones to read. They're very much. I think this batch of sonnets we got are very much designed to be studied or read to yourself. They're meant to be read, not read out loud. They're meant to be read, not spoken, I guess would be the way of saying that.
Unless it's slam poetry, most poetry is meant to be read to yourself.
Oh, I love slam poetry. There's someone I performed with him when I'm doing stand up, and he does spoken slam poetry. And every time he goes up and does one of his poems, I sit there just going, I wish I could write poetry better. It's so amazing to hear, and all I can do is stand up there and make a proud of myself and make people laugh. It's not as fun. But yeah, that Shakespeare wasn't really into his slam poetry.
I'm not sure they had that at the time. It's something fairly modern.
We should, if we get a time machine, bring back some slam poets to Shakespeare, because I'd love to hear him have a go at it.
It would be the poshest slam poet ever.
All about elements and stars and astrology, and it'd be amazing. It would be really, really good. With weird words like melancholy.
It's a nice one. I like the word melancholy.
I do. It's just it's a weird word. Melancholy. It doesn't immediately leap into your mind what it should mean. I think that's why I don't like it.
Most words don't inherently have any meaning. I mean, that's not how language works. Table doesn't really. There's nothing tabley about the word table.
But there is.
Because you associate the two with each other.
No, tables are nice and sturdy. The word table's got a T in it, which is a nice sturdy letter. It's got a couple of peaks, which are the legs. It's a very tabley word, table. I'm disagreeing with you there. And this isn't just because the only language I know is English. Messengers is very messengery. The word, even it's messengers. The way you said it, it gives the impression of something coming from a long distance and sort of snaking towards you. Messengers, they're coming towards you with information. I think you're wrong.
Wow.
This is why English is an amazing language.
And yet, most of these words aren't even. I mean, table isn't English. Melancholy isn't English. I'm pretty sure messenger isn't an English word.
Stop ruining my points. Why did I ask you to do this podcast with me? It was because you know language, that's why. And it's not just me spouting off rubbish. I don't really have much more to say about this sonnet. Do you have more to say about the sonnet? You must have.
I probably would if my head wasn't going, there's so many words.
There's no more words than usual, I don't think.
That is true, but it does look like more.
What do you think about... It's line 4, I think, is quite interesting.
These present absent with swift motion slide.
Yeah, it's the present absent. The hyphenated present absent. To suggest they are always present and always absent. Kind of quantum physicsy going on there.
Well, they definitely didn't know about quantum physics because that the 20th century, early 20th century. But
thank you for that history lesson.
I
had
don't
no
know.
idea.
There might be people out there who wouldn't know. I'm not sure.
Cat,
how...
Isn't it Shakespeare's cat? That famous thought experiment.
Yeah, but even that, ask people what Schrodinger's cat actually means, and no one would be able to tell you.
No, and the fact that it was made up as an example of why microphysics doesn't work in the macro world. It was to show how patently absurd the idea is, and yet people take it as a it's so mystical, and it's crap. But it's lovely. If you don't know what that is, email us and we'll talk about it. I'll work it into another sonnet.
But the present. I thought it was the elements.
Yeah,
as in they're present here with me, sort of. But they're all half of them are also with you.
Oh, so literally splitting the 4 into 2 and 2. These present absent with swift motion slide.
That's the way I read it.
What about the swift motion slide then? Which is a lovely phrase. If I was to write a sort of a movie that was going to go to independent film festivals, I'd call it Swift Motion Slide because it's an amazing title.
I'm not actually sure. With
that's
motion slide. Maybe they go in between the two. As in the elements just sort of sometimes they're with Shakespeare, sometimes they're not.
Yeah, so the first, so he's talking about, so the whole segment is the first word I can't say, quatrain is the first thing. The other two, slight air and purging fire, are both with thee wherever I abide. The first my thought, the other my desire, these present absent with swift motion slide. Yeah, I think it is. They're his. So he's suggesting that everyone has 4 elements. So you kind of own them, and they are yours to command. And he sent 2 away. At least that's
the youth has taken 2 with him.
Yeah, and so they're present absent. They're present as in they are his, but they're absent from him right now. And the swift motion, I'm guessing, is referring to the fact that the air and the fire are the 2 ethereal of the 4 elements.
Could be, I would have. These present absent with swift motion slide.
It's not the easiest couple of lines to disentangle, I guess. Because it goes on to say, for when these quicker elements are gone. So yeah, I think it is the idea that they are quickly leaving and coming back to him to sort of keep the lines of communication open. They're like
that does make sense.
They're like his supply lines, if you want to use a kind of war analogy, that are keeping him in touch with what the fair youth is up to. So where we've got to, I guess, in the history of the sonnets, is the Shakespeare loved the fair youth and built him up to be this mythical person, like love personified, and that was very much how we got in the early sonnets. He is love personified on earth. Nothing is more beautiful than him. And then Shakespeare very much falls in love with him in the physical sense, that he wants to have a physical relationship with him. He then falls out of love with the fair youth, or maybe not out of love, but gets very upset at the fair youth because the fair youth did something, although we don't know what it is.
Something with a girl.
And then it becomes something with a girl, and then it was very much he's sleeping with someone who Shakespeare also quite liked. And now we went into the Shakespeare trying to forgive the fair youth, which wasn't happening very well. And now we've got to the point where the fair youth is absent, and that's been a running theme for the past couple of sonnets, that the fair youth is away somewhere, and not just. I don't get the impression it's like in the next town over. It seems to be a vast distance of land and water, because presumably if he was in the next village, Shakespeare would be able to
get on a
horse,
horse,
head over there. Yeah. So it sounds as though the fair youth is a long distance away. Maybe in another country. That's the impression I'm getting.
Well, it wouldn't even have to be. Well, I guess another country within the UK it could be.
Well, I just because there's water involved, he's bound. Shakespeare is bound by earth and water, which in my head, assuming we're an island, you'd have to get across water.
But I have no idea. Was Ireland part of the UK at the time?
I don't know.
You're the British person, Mark.
I am, but you have no idea what history is like in our schools. History in our schools is there was the First World War from dates and then there's the Second World War from 45 to and Hitler was bad, and he was German, and the Germans tried to take over the world, and they bombed us. It was unbelievable. They bombed us, and we had to go on rationing. That is pretty much history in
that's sort of. I went to slight tangent. I went to see Argo, the Ben Affleck movie about the kidnapping in Iran, with a couple of people, and I mean, I did all of that in school. That was all part of my history lessons, what happened there and everything. But none of the other people knew what was going on. And afterwards, someone was just like, "Oh, I had no idea that ever happened." It's just like that's a major historic incident of the last century. How did you not? No. We do the First World War and the Second World War. It's just like, but there's more stuff happened than those combined 10 years of stuff.
And the only other two things I can remember from my history class is that in 1066 something happened.
It's the Norman Conquest in 1066.
Norman Conquest 1066, and then in 1666 was the Fire of London. That's all I remember. And that was pretty much all we learned. The British education system, as much as I adore it because it's socialised and it ensures pretty much that all kids are literate and up to a certain level, and I don't agree that level's high enough, but that's another discussion. I adore it, but some things like it's the very right-wing ideal we have in this country that if something isn't pertinent to a job you're going to get after school, it is not worthwhile knowing, which removes all things like art and history and geography. All of these amazing subjects just drop by the wayside one by one because they're not seen as pertinent to getting a job, and therefore they're not seen as important.
Pertinent to getting a job is a very vague, pointless definition, because you don't. I mean, art could be incredibly useful depending on what sort of job you want.
Yeah, but we're talking. This is the right wing involvement with the schooling system. They don't see art as worthwhile. And there's a wonderful clip on YouTube. You should find it. In this country we've got someone called, I think it's Ben Alson, who did it, and he's a writer and a comic, and he's kind of a political commentator as well. And it's back when he was young, and he's having a discussion about, I think it's about Thatcher, Margaret Thatcher, lovely right-wing prime minister we had.
The Iron Lady.
Yes, exactly. And at the time, there was a discussion about whether you should be able to study art at university, and she made a comment about the history. Someone was studying the history of art in some random country, and she made this derisive comment about how she wished she had that kind of free time, completely disregarding the fact that can be important and is quite important to human history and to culture, and the point of art is to develop you as a person. And if you don't allow people to develop as people, all you end up with is a mindless mass of people, which is again what the right wing people want, because they want a mass of people they can control. So when they say immigrants are coming in and stealing your jobs, not one of them goes, actually, where's the evidence for that? Why are you telling me this? The big one we got in the country at the moment is benefit cheats.
Oh yeah, everyone is stealing benefits. That's how it works. That's how they make you feel. I don't know how many of our listeners have ever been on benefits, but that is how they make you feel in there. They really just treat you like a piece of shit.
Yeah, and the idea that the majority of people on benefits are cheating the system, when all research into it shows it's actually a very, very small percentage, and the amount of money that they're taking from the system is less than the money that was robbed from us by our MPs in the scandal of flipping homes and crap like that. It really winds me
I
up.
wouldn't even. I was on benefits for, I don't know how many, not that long, like 2 months or something. And you don't want to cheat that system, because every time you go in there, it's not a place you want to be in. It just,
yeah.
I mean, if I sort of admire the people who manage to cheat the system, because to go in there every 2 weeks and to make you feel like a piece of shit, to stick through that for like, what is it, 70 quid a week? That's,
yeah.
I mean, you deserve the money just for that half an hour that you get put down.
Oh, unbelievable. And we have all sorts of scandals in this country. The big famous one was one of our MPs putting on expenses, so it has to be work-related, was the cleaning of his moat that's around his house. Someone else put the cleaning of a duck island that was in their lake in their backyard. And the big famous one was this lady MP's husband who watched some porn in a hotel room on pay-per-view, and then they expensed that to the taxpayer. And it's just, it winds me up. It's the bums on the rod versus the bums on the plush. And these people at the top are taking us for far more money than the very few people who are at the bottom of the rung. And yet, because there's this idea of let's keep everyone ill-educated and just let them respond to the buttons and levers we put in them, they target everything on this minority that is cheating the system. And there are some people cheating the system, but all the focus goes there and completely misses the fact that these people who are supposedly meant to be running the country are robbing us for millions.
But even that doesn't... I mean, historically, keeping people stupid has not worked. It works for like a few years, maybe a decade or two, but eventually people want freedom and they want to learn and they want knowledge, and eventually they'll just rise up. I mean, even... Was it still... Well, it was the end of Thatcher, the poll tax riots.
Yes.
Even that people just... I mean, instead of fighting you with debates, they'll just take to the streets and beat the crap out of everyone. But they just... There's always the point where they don't take it anymore.
Treat people like educated... Treat people like humans. An educated group of people, of individuals, is how we should treat them. This has gone
way off.
It has, and also way longer than usual. I'm very... I'm not sorry, because these are important issues. And
this is our special Valentine's Day episode on the...
Yes.
I looked at... This should be the 2nd of April, so... Just the one after my birthday. We've missed it, Mark.
Ah, damn it. Okay, we'll have to work out when my birthday one's going to be then, and we'll do that. But let's go. Do you feel you're up to with your Cole reading us out?
Yeah, I'll do my best.
You sound...
At least I have an excuse this time if I stumble.
That's true. Okay, I shall let you go.
Oh God, Sonnet. What was that for? I have you in Roman numbers
45.
now, and my brain just went, oh, that's an X and L. What is that again?
45. Sonnet 45.
This is going to go so well. Sonnet 45. The other two, slight air and purging fire, are both with thee wherever I abide. The first my thought, the other my desire, these present absent with swift motion slide. For when these quicker elements are gone, in tender embassy of love to thee, my life, being made of four, with two alone, sinks down to death, oppressed with melancholy. Until life's records...
I think that's where I went wrong as well.
For some reason I was expecting a different word. Until life's composition be recured by those swift messengers returned from thee, who even but now come back again, assured of thy fair health, recounting it to me. This told, I joy, but then no longer glad, I sent them back again, and straight grow sad.
Excellent. That was Sonnet 45 from William Shakespeare's Sonnets. I've been Mark Chatterley, and you've been listening to Shakespeare's Sonnets. This one was maybe a tad political. I hope we haven't alienated anyone who doesn't quite agree with our political ideals, but, message us. Send us emails. We like that. I'm Mark Chatterley, and you can follow me on Twitter @Nufkin.
I am Thierry Heles, and you can follow me on Twitter @SoundOfSeagulls.
Excellent. And we shall see you all next time for Sonnet 46. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
You've been listening to Shakespeare's Sonnets with Mark Chatterley and Thierry Heles. This has been an In-Ear Entertainment podcast. To listen to other podcasts or find out more about In-Ear Entertainment, go to www.inearentertainment.com.